like I said, I'm having to do this a bit off the cuff, but that's okay. Because I guess we'll just start right now.
Hey, you know what?
Because,
Off the cuff is the best way to do it.
um, well, I've been watching Dean for quite a long time, and like I'm a masochist. Um, at this point, my wife groans out of sheer pain from hearing his voice, and so she, um, but I'm curious to know about. You should remember this. The time that you went on to his channel and you were essentially ambushed by Philosophy Tiger. Do you remember that?
Probably. I mean, I remember being on his channel and philosophy. Tony the Tiger was there. Yeah, I remember that time.
Do you remember what sparked that whole issue?
I know that I was on his channel to discuss with him about. I think it's just his basic hatred for me and like for the atheist community in general. I want to say that I came on there to talk specifically to him and wasn't expecting Tony the Tiger there.
He's actually no longer with Red Pill Religion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, according to White Engine, according to White Engine, he was actually kicked out of the group for being a Calvinist. I don't know much about Calvinism or anything, but I'm guessing that there's some weird rivalry between Calvinists and Catholics.
Well, yeah, it's weird to hear that because Dean always touts how he's so inclusive to like people of other faiths and other ideas and everything like that, and they all think atheism is horrible. But then he kicks out somebody on his side because they're a different like version of Christianity. It doesn't make sense.
White Engine's almost exact words was that Dean told them that Calvinism was an evil ideology, which is okay, whatever. Really talk about what happened, what the relationship with you and Dean is, and I'm going to assume that you don't really have a relationship with Dean. He just really wants to have a relationship with you.
Yeah, he really, really wants attention, in my opinion. So to start off with, going back a couple years, actually, Dean had put up a video where he was teaching his son about how to hate atheists. And
I remember this.
Yeah, he put up a video where he was showing himself to be indoctrinating his son into a very hateful brand of religion. And I made a video on it, and I responded to him on it, and I showed how hateful he was being and how he was just being very bigoted against people that didn't do anything wrong to him, at least in on the whole. Like, not specific people in the community hadn't wronged him, because obviously he feels wronged. But the atheist community on the whole has not wronged him, but yet he blames everybody for it, and so he's imparting this onto his son. So I did that one video, and like he blew up at first, like on my Facebook page, not the actual page of Godless Engineer, but my personal Facebook like profile. He blew up when I shared it amongst me and my friends on my timeline. And, he started, just spouting off all this ridiculous shit on Facebook. And so it like after a little bit, it died down and there was nothing else said about it until they started like really coming in on atheist channels and in the comment section and making a whole bunch of like noise and everything like that. And so then I started to pay a little bit more attention to him and I started responding to him again. And that only seemed to fuel him a little bit more. But it got to the point where, Dean seemed to be a bit more amicable, even though I had made a couple more response videos to him and who I lovingly call the Discount Terminator, deflating atheism. And
oh, okay. I know who you mean.
yeah. I mean, look, then you will not be able to get this out of your head the next time you see like any one of his videos where he's wearing those ridiculous fucking glasses.
Yeah.
But he looks like he came back from the future to, like, I don't know, save somebody that's supposed to save us. But so they had released, it was maybe, I think it was maybe earlier this year. Yeah, I think it was earlier this year. He released a State of Atheism 2018 or something like that. And so I took the time and I went through the entire stream and I made 3 or 4 videos out of it where I got people that they were talking about. I got them in on the video and everything. Well, after that, Dean had me on, and that's when the Philosophy Tiger and Dean Esme thing blew up. So he got me on there, and he pretty much just screamed at me, and he nearly broke down in tears on stream, talking about how the atheists are big bullies and everything like that. And I made fun of him for his whole conspiracy theory about atheists. I mean, it's really elaborate. Like, his whole conspiracy theory has 3 different levels to it, and they're all funded by somebody in some way. And like, one of them's a black market of atheism where you can just pay atheists to go and be atheist about different things, and then you have like this skeptic mafia level where apparently a number of people are all in on this mafia and somebody's controlling the mafia and they're all bullying people out. And then there's this other top level where apparently there's a big donor guy that's like funding all these atheist channels to be atheist and all this other shit. And so like it's a multi-tiered, like, complex conspiracy theory that he's built. And he still holds to it today, as far as I know, that there's a conspiracy of atheists out there that are being paid to come on to, like, believers' channels and be bullying and all this other stuff, and to make response videos and all this other shit.
Roaming gangs of atheists.
Yes, roaming gangs of atheists, just tearing up the internet. So, go ahead.
Go on.
Oh, well, I mean, I was just going to say, it wasn't until the Non Sequitur show that, like, the feud, I guess, between me and him really kind of inflamed. Because, like, after all of that, he seemed to lull himself back into, like, a state of, oh, I'm just being too much of a dick, I'm cursing too much, and I'm being too hard on people and everything. Of course,
it's
during...
a cycle.
Yeah, during the actual, like, discussion that I had with him and Philosophy Tiger, I'm not the one that I think I may have screamed 1 or 2 times, but I mean, he was the one losing his shit on the other end. And so, like, after that point, Non Sequitur had him on to talk about something, and then they brought me in. And so I confronted him about all of the shit that he had been talking about me and talking about other people and Shannon. And then they brought Shannon in.
Oh, and, yes. That's when, once they brought Shannon in, he started going, as though his hand were caught in a cookie jar.
Yes, exactly. Because he's been saying so much shit about Shannon and everything. And I thought that was so great that Shannon, like, faced him on it and called him out on his bullshit. And of course he backs down on it. He bitches out about it. But then, like, at the very end, he starts talking about his kids or something like that. And all I add is, I think the only person here that is a danger to his kids is Dean himself. That's all I said. And so he gets so pissed off, he hangs up. And then, like, 5 seconds later, he calls back in just to, like, rant one more time and then promptly hangs up. So he does all of that. He leaves, he slams the door and everything. And it from there on, like, it blows up into this terrible, like, slander and libel thing. Which if I actually cared and I had the money to do it, I could literally take him to court and more than likely win in, like, a libel and slander suit because of all the different places that he's actually mislabeled me and mischaracterized me. I could potentially do that, but I mean, I don't really have the time, the money, or the care to care about Dean Esme up in fucking Michigan, you know? But it's turned into this thing where apparently I said that he abuses his kids, that CPS needs to take his kids away from him. I have apparently tried to call CPS to get him, to get his kids taken away from him. And
keep going.
Yeah, and
Sorry.
apparently I have been the one to terrorize his son because he has like shoved my picture as well as my fiance KC, her picture into his face and saying, "Look, if Daddy goes to jail, these are the people that sent him to jail. These are the people that took your daddy away or took you away from Daddy and all this other shit."
That's
like
creepy.
Yeah, I know, and he blames me for that. I'm like, I don't know your kid. The only reason why I've ever mentioned your kid is because you bring him up and you put him in videos. And so I'm not the one that's shoving my picture in his face, scaring him. It is you. And like the entire time he keeps blaming me for his actions. And it got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm just not even gonna pay attention to him anymore. So like every few months now, like I think it's only happened like I think maybe twice since I stopped even paying attention to him. But he'll start up like again, and he'll go on like my comment section. He'll leave a whole bunch of hate comments and everything, and he'll just look crazy as fuck. And all I had to do is sit back and watch him and laugh because everybody just tears him a new one now. Like there are even some of his own people that are like, you shouldn't say that, Dean. And I think it's hilarious.
Now I actually remember where I first saw you. Now, originally I thought that my first experience actually with you and your channel was through Dean himself in the drama with Philosophy Tiger and whatnot. But actually, I realized that you were on the Drunken Peasants at one point.
Was I?
Didn't you host like a 24-hour stream or something?
Oh no, it wasn't the well, I don't think I was on the Drunken Peasants, like a Drunken Peasants 24-hour stream. I know that I was on a pretty long stream with the Bible Reloaded.
Yes, that's it. That must be it. Where they were doing a charity event, right?
Yeah, I was actually, they wanted somebody that had a pretty reliable like internet connection, so I was the one producing the show and streaming it like to their channel. And I know they had TJ on, so that's probably why you thought it was Drunken Peasants.
Okay, that makes sense. I've been, and I'll be honest with you, last few days, because I'm really trying to take this video. Excuse me. I'm really trying to take this video seriously, and I'm trying to put out something that's a better quality than the other stuff that I did, because I haven't made a YouTube video in quite a while, and now I really want to start getting into the game, because I've got a bunch of B movies, and somebody needs to talk about them. But I've been a little snoopy lately, and I've been going on to, I'm in their Discord at this point, and I've been noticing some very, and I'm going to call it creepy. I believe Dean has taken it upon himself to officially diagnose Shannon and Steve with sociopathy.
Really?
He has said some really creepy shit about Shannon. Specifically, like just the wording itself is creepy. Saying stuff like, "Watch her. See, this is how this kind of person works." And it's just, it almost gives you goosebumps because the conspiracy continues.
Right.
I think it's important for me to communicate with you and let you know that Ken Ham, I believe it was Ken Ham he was saying about it. But who owns that art park?
Yeah.
It's Ken Ham?
Yeah.
That Ken Ham is actually a paid atheist as well.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that's important for you to know. Maybe you could make a couple videos on it. Um, like there are layers to what he says, and sometimes it really does come off quite paranoid. Recently, he's done a stream about that is just pretty much all a conspiracy, and I think he's starting to entertain the idea of flat Earth, which should give you some content. um, but I recently received some. I didn't receive. I managed to capture some audio from a video that that they streamed, and it was only up for about a day. But Dean had taken a sabbatical lately, and he took a month off, and then the non sequitur received a copyright strike or a DMCA.
Yeah.
And Steve went onto the Red Pill Religion channel and explained, basically explained what had happened, and they had a good dialogue, nice and civil. And about 2 days later, Dean does this live stream. It's like a "Hey, I'm back, Max and friends" sort of stream, and the first 10 minutes he just starts berating Steve because of how vocal he's being about the Catholic Church issue lately. But 4 times in this 10 minutes, his own people call him out, trying to get him to calm down, because I do think that they want a good, at least a civil relationship with Non Sequitur. Bridges have been burned, that sort of thing. But Steve himself said that as long as they knock down the vitriol, that they're more than welcome to join the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, holy crap, I forgot where I was going with that. Hold up, it'll come back to me. Oh, now, your relationship with the non sequitur is basically one with you'll hop on every now and then. I noticed that you were on that recent upload that came with that. I'm sorry, claymation terrifies me. It just creeps me out. And the dumpster fryer thing that they just posted, I was like, holy crap, this will haunt my nightmares for years. Your relationship is if I understand it correctly, is you work with them, you join in with their conversations, and do you yourself feel that the members, maybe even Dean, do you feel that if they drop the vitriol, that would you be willing to have a decent relationship with them? What? Or has that bridge just been burnt?
You talking about with Red Pill or with Non Sequitur?
With Red Pill.
Okay. Well, I mean, as far as Dean goes, I mean, if he were to drop the vitriol, I think that I might pay attention to him. So, I mean, I guess the bridge isn't completely burned, but I mean, Dean has done and said a lot of things that are very disparaging towards both me and KC. I mean, he's got a blog post that's still up, as far as I know, that slanders us, or well, I guess technically since it's writing, it's libels us pretty bad. And so I don't know. If he were to have a change of heart and like take that down and like issue a statement about how wrong he was, labeling us like he did, I don't see that ever happening. But I think that if he were to change his attitude completely, I would really still tread with caution, because that like you said earlier, that's his cycle. He calms down a bit and he's fine for a bit, and then it's like he's got bipolar disorder or something, and he just enrages again, and he just goes off the deep end again. And so I don't know. I would say that I'd probably tread lightly and cautiously, and I think that it would take a substantial amount for me to actually, like, I guess, trust, if I could use that word, like trust them again. But as of right now, the whole red pill religion party, like White Engine, I mean, anytime either Casey and I are in a chat, they demean and disparage us for no reason whatsoever, other than the fact that we're both mythicists, and they apparently hate us for that, for whatever reason. And the rest of their party are pretty disgusting, in my opinion. I mean, I know back when Shannon was still in their Discord server, they were talking about how Shannon, let's see, they said they had a few choice words about sexual actions to do with Shannon, and Shannon let it roll off of her. But I mean, if they had said the same thing about, you know, KC.
What do you mean by sexual actions?
Well, the one thing that I do remember, and they joked around like this a lot, is that Shannon looks like she takes it ass to mouth, but like not her ass. And I believe
no, that's gross.
Yeah, I believe that was Mr. Brass that said that. He's also the one that recently on Twitter made a joke about them having Mercedes Carrera on their show, and made a disparaging comment about her legs being spread, like non sequitur schedules as wide open as Mercedes's legs or something like that. And so, I mean, it's pretty much like a boys' club that doesn't care about being demeaning and misogynistic, and they pretty much they circle jerk themselves around, and they're just horrible people in general, in my opinion. And so I think that they would have to radically change like their entire group in order for me to not think horribly of them.
I'm actually not that aware of the issue with you and KC. I don't know about this blog post. Would you be willing to give your opinions and thoughts on that? Because I actually don't know anything about that.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much a blog post that's everything that I've stated so far, like the slander and the liable stuff about how I want to, you know, CPS to take away his kids, and how I've tried to get his kids taken away from him, how I've tried to swat him and all this other shit. And it's pretty much a post that's up right now. I think it's on the Red Pill Religion thing. If you search for my name, it'll come up, and it'll just be a full page of lies about both me and KC. And
okay, I'll definitely look that up.
Well, honestly, I'm just now I tried searching on their website, redpillreligion.com, for that particular post that I was talking about, and I can only find one post now, so apparently it was taken down. I don't know if Max took it down himself or if somebody else that has access to it took it down, but apparently that particular post is not up anymore. So I have to say thanks for doing that, because it was totally a fabricated blog post that was up. But to say to Max in general, you know, I'm not here to hate you. I'm not here to hate anyone in the Red Pill Religion. I'm not here to hate any religious person in general. I don't, you know, go and find religious people to bash or be bigoted towards or anything like that. I'm not part of any kind of conspiracy online to bash you or to take your kids away from you. I've never tried to do that. I am not any of these things that you paint me as, Max. And most atheists are not any of these things that you paint them as. Yes, I make videos on YouTube, and yes, I get ad revenue, and yes, I have a Patreon, but that does not mean that I am some kind of paid shill where people give me money and I go and I bash whoever I want to. I still think that if you're parenting your kid the way that you were, that it is very dangerous to parent your kid that way. Oh, Super Sleuth KC found the article. So apparently it's still up there. It's just not tagged as Godless Engineer. So I can actually get you that link.
Oh, that would be appreciated.
Yeah. So there's another one. It's actually at the bottom of that link that I just sent you on Twitter. But it's still up. Never mind that, Max. That whole thing. Never mind that. You're still a piece of shit in my book.
Tell Casey I said thank you.
She can hear you.
Oh, fair enough.
But anyways, so Max, I would think that you would need to, retract any and all statements, about me and KC that are untrue, that are untrue, that you're only using to prop up your whole conspiracy theory. To anybody that's in the Red Pill Religion gang, I would say that you need to get out and actually listen to what I'm saying, what Shannon says, what everybody says, because we are not the people that Max paints us as. To White Engine, you can fuck off. I don't like White Engine because of how he treats me and how he talks to me. And the fact that he talks to me like the way that he does, and he doesn't ever bother to actually defend the words that he says. He will sit on the sidelines and shit talk all day, but in the end, that's all that you are, is a big pile of shit talk. And I really don't have time for people that will just sit there and shit talk the entire time and not actually back up the words that they're saying. So, to White Engine and people that like White Engine, just purely hate me because of some opinions I have. I think that you really need to get out and you need to educate yourself a little bit and you need to grow up, because that's childish as fuck. So that would be what I would say to the Red Pill Religion gang if I could. But chances are, if I were to ever actually try to talk, I would just get screamed at. Nah, I mean, that's pretty much the whole beef between me and Red Pill Religion, and he keeps trying to reel me back into the hate. And to be quite honest, after the very beginning of this year, I got enough of that where I'm just like, I'm good. Like, I don't need that kind of negative, force in my life that is Dean Esme. And he keeps trying to drag me in, and I'm just not going to let him. And I managed to do that and accomplish that by not paying attention to his videos. I'm not subscribed to him anymore, or the Red Pill Gang. I don't watch their live streams like most of everybody doesn't watch their live streams. Yeah,
I actually watch the live streams when they're live, so one of those views is me.
Well, and I mean, that's totally fine. But for me, whenever I listen to him, it does bother me when he starts lying about both me and my friends. And so, yeah, it in order to not have that kind of emotional reaction to what he says, I just ignore him. I know I had a conversation with RCA, well, technically a debate with a Reformed Christian apologist, who's a Calvinist, and I think he's a Calvinist. That's why Dean hates him. But he came on there and he shit talked both me and RCA, and I mean, technically RCA is on his side of the theological aisle. So, yeah, I mean, I don't ever really get into those kind of arguments on YouTube or Twitter or anywhere else.
Oh, I just remembered something. Huzzah.
Okay.
There was this point when you were on his channel when, I'm actually going to refer to it as the arbiter of belief. He was telling you that you were lying because of your own belief, and as though he were some sort of telepath. Mm-hmm. That is extremely disingenuous. That is playground level intellectual dishonesty. You don't have the ability to know someone else's mind.
Right.
And like, what's your reflection on that, if you remember that?
Well, yeah, I do. Well, because I mean that's one of the big tactics of Dean, or one of the routes that he goes is like anything that is counter his position, people are always just lying about. So, like when I say that there's not a skeptic mafia or an atheist mafia, he says that I'm lying about it. It can't just be that I'm in disagreement with him about it or anything like that. It's that I'm actively lying about it. And I agree that it's pretty childish behavior. I mean, my son, he'll sit there and he'll get upset at a video game and be like, "Oh, it's cheating." It's like, "Son, it can't cheat." it's a bot. Like bots don't cheat. Like they don't clip outside of the game and come in behind you and shank you. You know, I mean they don't cheat. And so I feel like that is just one of the highlights of Dean and the Red Pill Religion Gang. And I would say that Dean is a representative of Red Pill Religion as a whole. And a lot of people.
Channel.
Oh yeah, well, a lot of people in the Red Pill Religion like group would say that, well, Dean doesn't represent me or anything like that, but Dean is a representative of the group, and if you're in the group and you're participating in a group activity, Dean sets the tone for your group. So I get why they push back on him on occasion and why they ridicule him on occasion. But for the most part, they are fine with Dean's attitude. Like I said, they do disagree when he goes off on these rants or explodes or whatnot. But he has to get to a certain level in order for them to even say anything. So up until that threshold, they're fine with his attitude, and they just let him continue and represent the group like that. So,
well. Part of the reason why I'm making this this video, and it was actually suggested to me to cut it up into parts. Now I could make a 2-3 hour long video on just on Dean, on the conspiracy, on the fear that he perpetuates, the hate mongering, the vitriol, just and the childish antics. I could make a fucking living off the guy. Just by making reply videos. However, at this point in time, I've come to the point where I'm probably going to be unsubscribing because this is kind of my goodbye Dean sort of thing. I've been watching it for a few years now, and I've learned. I will say that I have learned some things on their channel. They do perpetuate facts at times, especially when they are interested. Excuse me. Especially when they are interested in something, they will go into it in detail, and however they tend to go off on red herrings and stuff. When they do their live streams, typically they'll go through. They'll take a atheist or skeptic and only play certain parts of their video where they can cherry pick by use of timestamps, and then they go off on red herrings that have absolutely nothing to do with the subject that they're referring to, and sometimes they just never return back to it. In fact, the video footage that well, it's not actually video footage because they don't do visuals very much unless it's somebody else's work that they're using. In this video, they were supposed to talk about heavy metal. Now, I love heavy metal. Like, I absolutely love heavy metal. They talked about Iron Maiden for about 5 seconds and then started talking about, I think it was Thomas Aquinas. And they never really returned to it. So, like, I don't like putting down other people's creative work. even if I don't like these people, even if I don't agree with what they're saying, I don't want to put down uh, somebody's channel for the content they make, because they are making content. They are trying to have fun with it, and you can definitely tell when watching their channel, when Dean goes off on a rant, that they the other members just really want to have fun, and I think dogging on atheists is fun for him. Um, However, I, it's just not very good content, in my opinion. Uh,
Yeah.
they could do better. I think they have potential. Sorry, you were going to say something?
Well, I was just gonna say, I do have to admit, I never laugh harder than when they start a stream and it's like to respond to whatever atheist video, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they can never get more than like 2 minutes in, because like they'll play a few seconds and then it's like the Tourette's hits. Because they'll just start screaming something, like they'll be like, liar, or I think Dean always screams lies, or that's not true, and I mean, he'll just start yelling it, and he'll yell over the video that's playing. And he'll keep the video playing. He just yells it like, "Ah, liar," and it just sounds like they've got Tourette's. Like all of them do it.
It's very true. It's very true. Uh, it's sometimes I have to admit, for about 3 months there, I was strictly watching it for the cringe.
Yeah.
And they can be very cringy. They start out nowadays they start out every live stream that they do by poisoning the well, saying that this a belief in the supernatural is scientific and it's natural, and yes, in some ways it is humans do believe in that sort of supernatural agent when it comes to religion or superstition. It is a sort of instinct, but I think it relates more to predators and being safe than anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to do some more research on that before I could really put it out there. They do link science articles sometimes. Not very often, but when they do, I actually get an interesting read. I don't think I'm necessary. I don't know what it takes to be qualified to read scientific papers or anything like that. But I'll read the abstracts, and if I'm correct, am I correct about this? An abstract is basically a summary of the study. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, as far as like being qualified or whatnot to read the paper, I think that you would just need to be competent enough to like read the technical side of it. But I mean, even if you're not technically inclined on whatever topic it is, you can inform yourself about it, and you can eventually understand what they're talking about. But like with the near-death experience information, which I know that they've done earlier this year.
Philosophy, I believe it was.
Maybe. I don't know. I know that on their on a couple of their streams, they were talking about near-death experiences, and they had, links to articles. And it may have been Inspiring Philosophy that they were linking to, but they had articles and papers and whatnot that they were linking to prove that there was an afterlife and all this other stuff. And when Shannon went through it, and she read every single reference that they had. Which it might have been, they linked to an Inspiring Philosophy video that had like scientific studies and everything done in the description.
I think it was an entire series of videos that Inspiring Philosophy went through. I'll have to double check that, but go on.
But yeah, so Shannon went through that, and she read them, and like the conclusion that they drew from it was not supported by the documentation that was given. Is what it amounted to. And that doesn't really surprise me, because one of the big tactics that apologists use is or really any pseudoscience uses, is that they'll take kernels of truth and then they'll extrapolate a conclusion that is not actually supported by it, but to the I guess, general reader or somebody that's not scientifically inclined, they just see, oh, look, they have all these papers and they're titled in such a way that it sounds smart, so they've supported their argument. And they get away with it because people don't actually go in and read the articles, and they or if they do, they don't understand what they're reading, and they just assume that it supports the person's position when it really doesn't.
Yes, I actually went through most of the articles, not all of them, that Red Pill Religion had actually linked, and they I don't think the members of Red Pill Religion understand that the study of near-death experiences isn't about the study of the soul or the study of life after death. It is the study of people who practically die and then are revived. It's the study of near-death experiences. But there is no link between any of that information and supporting the claim of there being an afterlife. I mean, I felt, that tunnel that everybody refers to?
Yeah.
I've seen that tunnel. I actually fell down 2 stories. I was a construction worker. I fell 2 stories onto a large a pallet of bricks, and I was knocked out for about 10 minutes until somebody finally found me, and I saw the tunnel. It's just something that your brain does, and there's just no way to really extrapolate from that tunnel or a feeling of euphoria directly to a soul.
Well, right. I believe if I'm correct, the most recent science, there's the problem with NDEs and like your experience right there is that you don't really know exactly when that's happening. And when the brain shuts down, it does a number of things in order to cope with the whole loss of oxygen and dying in general. And one of the things is like the tunnel or the light or whatnot that a lot of people see, and that's just an effect of the brain. And then, like, for instance, another thing is like seeing whatever savior that you currently believe in on the other side, or maybe you don't necessarily believe in them, but you've had thoughts about them or something like that. Like seeing those things like in your near-death experience is also common because of how the brain reacts to when you're dying. But a lot of these near-death experiences, you can't tell if you're experiencing it like as your brain is dying or after you've come out of a coma or something like that. Like, I don't know your particular instance, and I'm not going to pretend to know.
It wasn't a near-death experience. It was just literally me obtaining a concussion.
Oh, okay.
Like, I was KO'd, I had a concussion, and I saw what one would say is a tunnel. I'm not saying it's a near-death experience. Sorry, right. I should have been more clear about that.
Well, honestly, I had a pretty bad car wreck when I was in high school. And what ended up happening is I clipped a guy that was turning into a parking lot because I was going down a road, and then he turned like right in front of me out of nowhere. I clipped him and ran into another car that was in a turn lane. And when I hit, like, I couldn't move my body or anything like that, but I was still conscious. Like, I was knocked around. I was jolted. And I could see how somebody would think that, oh, I'm having some kind of out of body experience. Like I'm awake and I'm aware of my surroundings, but I can't move and I can't react and all that other kind of stuff. And I could see how that would be really disorienting to somebody, and they would think, "Oh, it's an out-of-body experience," or "Oh, this is what the soul is," or something like that. Like, I could totally
projection.
Yeah, but I could totally see that from somebody. But I mean, even when I was in high school and I believed in God, like, I was just sitting there, like, "Oh, I was aware but I just couldn't move my body because I'd been through a major trauma, you know?
Yeah. But there is that issue where and I've seen atheists do it too, where they will try to make this connection with something that a scientific study, and it's generally laymen. That's the issue, is it's generally laymen, I believe. But they will try to make an extrapolation to hook on to an idea that a study doesn't necessarily support. Or even if the study simply mentions that, some people believe that this is a link to the afterlife or the soul. Just because it says some people think doesn't mean that it is. This is a spouted opinion in the abstract, as far as I can tell. I'm I'm not a scientist. I'm nobody, you know.
No, yeah, I think that there's a lot of people that are susceptible to it, and a lot of times, and Dean says this a lot, is that like, oh, atheists think they're so smart and all this other stuff, and it's like, well, no, it's not that we think that we're smart, because obviously atheists can be fooled and duped by certain things that, you know, they could half-ass read a scientific paper or something like that, or just read a random, you know, story online that was, you know, something that's not actually real, and, you know, purport that as being true. I mean, atheists are just as susceptible as being dumb as religious people are. And I think that it's up to the community in general as a whole to, you know, definitely correct itself when it needs to be corrected. And that's one thing, I guess, that Dean says doesn't happen, but I know for a fact does happen. Because I get corrected on my shit all the time in the comments.
Well, it's good. It's good to be wrong. I can't express that any more than it's good to be wrong, because when you're wrong and you actually I'm an atheist because of katanas, like the samurai sword.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think that the samurai sword would be able to cut through plate mail, that it was just the perfect form for a sword, that it would cut through, you know, the English arming sword, and that it just couldn't be beat. The techniques around it were just perfect because samurai passed it down from generation to generation to generation. And then I learned that steel can't cut through steel. So I took that and I was like, I wonder what else I am wrong about. And at that time, and I don't say this lightly. At the time, I was a polytheist. I believed I essentially had created my own religion, and it might seem hypocritical, and it was, and I don't feel I need to justify it. A combination of Norse Odin, the Nordic Odin religion. If you know, you've seen Thor.
Yeah.
And Buddhism, which those kind of contradict each other when one refers to being, glory and death in battle, and the other is, be peaceful.
Yeah.
And I started really thinking about that, and I started learning more and more about that, and I found my way out of the bubble. But now I love investigating to see if I'm wrong about something. And when I'm wrong about something, and I have proper data to tell me that I am wrong, I throw those beliefs out, because that makes me an intellectually honest person. What about what was your path to becoming an atheist? What happened?
Well, so basically what happened was that, I was never really a diehard Christian, and I tried several times to be one, but I couldn't do it. And so, at one point in time, I was particularly struggling with the whole believing in God thing. and trying to be the good Christian boy and everything like that. And one of my friends, after a church softball game, actually confronted me about it and was like, well, you know, if you don't believe in the entire Bible front to back, then you're not a real Christian. And so I was like, well, I guess I'm not a real Christian. Like, it was just immediate like that. So I had to figure out exactly what I was, like what I believed. And so it took a few months for me to become okay with it, but I eventually came to the position of atheist. And I realized that atheist wasn't like a bad word or anything like that. Like, I had been taught that you need to believe in God, or that you should believe in God, or that God is by default just something that exists. And so being an atheist was kind of like a scary thing to me. And so after I got over that hurdle, I pretty much just, free flowed from me. Rolling into the whole atheist activism and that whole community and everything like that. I saw that there was a community of people that were there and, were really there to support each other. That on the one hand was very critical of one another, but on another hand understood like the growing pains of coming out of religion. And I always wanted to be that, that light in the fog for other people. Like whenever they would come out of the fog of religion, I wanted to be there vocalizing it and being like, it's okay. And for people to know that, you can still have fun and you can make fun of your prior beliefs and you can have fun with it and you don't have to feel bad about it. And so that's kind of what led me to where I am now.
And what about the fear of hell? Did you ever... I struggled very deeply with that. What on you?
Well, when I was a Christian, I struggled with it a little bit. And I guess maybe a little bit after I became an atheist, just getting over all of that. But I don't know. Now hell always makes me chuckle whenever somebody like tries to throw that in my face or anything like that. And even when I was a Christian, I would sit there and be like, there's no way that God is going to send me to hell for saying fuck once or twice or saying fuck at all. And like I always thought about how ridiculous it would be getting up there to heaven and God would be like, "Oh, John, you said fuck 3 million times. I guess you're going to hell." And totally disregarding all of the good that I had done in my life in general. And it's just like, "Oh, you said shit. Oh, you said goddamn once. Oh, I gotta fucking stone you in hell now for eternity." And that was one thing that always confused me because, hell was always this thing that was, the negative consequence of being bad or not being Christ-like. And I always found it insanely, such a high bar to set. It's like, you have to be like Christ. Like, that was the thing that always resonated with me when I was a kid. It's like, you got to be like Christ. And if you're not like Christ, then you're going to burn in hell. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, there were several times I totally wiped my entire porn stash on my computer. Because I was like, shit, I'm going to hell for looking at this girl bouncing her ass on that dick. And, so I would routinely purge it, and then immediately after I would be like, fuck, why did I do that? That was a good video.
Won't be able to find it again.
Yeah, I know. It's like one of those fucking what is it, a golden goose, like one of those gooses that lays a golden egg, and it's just like, here you go, here's a golden egg porn video. And it's like, I feel bad about it. I'm going to wipe that away.
I'm going to kill the goose, and then I won't have my eggs anymore.
No. But, I mean, that was just one particular aspect of it. I mean, there were multiple times when, I think there was one time I was jumping on the trampoline in our backyard, and I did the thing where I went over just a little bit too far, and, I fell, on the side of the trampoline and I flipped over and like I landed on my back. And I'm sitting there like, God, I will go to church every day if you can make this stop hurting right now. And so like I would do those things. And so like hell, I don't know. Like hell just never I guess made sense to me. Like even as a Christian, it just never made sense.
Well, back onto the subject. I don't want to take. I'm not taking up too much of your time, am I?
No, I do need to go here in just a little bit, but
Okay. Well, one more. Sorry, I'm smoking a cigarette. One of those assholes that smokes in their apartment. Back on to Dean, and this is really the last thing, and just the strangest mental gymnastics that I've been hearing coming from, well, Red Pill religion. And it's this idea that whenever you convert to something, you don't deconvert from something. They're trying to weasel out the word deconvert, as if when you become an atheist, you deconvert to to atheism. However, whenever you go from being a Jew, being a Jew, whenever you go from being part of the Jewish religion to becoming a Christian, you don't deconvert from being a Jew. You just convert to being a Christian.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that? On this mental gymnastics?
Well, yeah. I mean, I do feel like it's a deconversion. And I think that it's just one of their tactics, a lot like claiming that atheism's a religion, which I can't remember if Red Pill does that or not. It sounds like something they would do.
They did at first. Now it's just a cult.
Okay. It's just a cult. It's been downgraded from religion to cult. God damn it. We got to up our game. But so I would say that it's just a tactic, just like claiming that religion is or atheism is a cult or atheism is a religion. And it's just a way to really demean like what a person has gone through when they lose their faith. I think deconvert is very much an apt like label to give it, because what you're having to do is you're shedding these beliefs that you've had for so long, and you wholeheartedly you staked your eternity on this. Like, I mean, to realize that you don't have an eternity, and everything that you've done up until this point, you can't change. And like that has been your life. And you only have like 60 years or 70 years, however old you are when you become an atheist, just realizing that you only have that much time left on this earth. And now you're going to be making the most of it. You have this newfound appreciation for life and everything. I think that denigrating the whole idea of deconversion out of religion in general, I think really does a disservice to what is actually happening.
Okay. Sorry, I wanted your opinion on that, and I very much agree with you. It's not something that you should just sweep under the rug. However, I have to say, thanks a lot for your time.
I love having conversations with people regardless of the subject. I tend to talk a lot, so I'm sorry if there's a lot that you can't use.
No, that's fine. I like listening to people. I like their opinions. That's why I watch YouTube, and I want to express my opinions, and that's why excuse me. I have the hiccups.
I hate those sons of bitches.
But that's the reason why I want my opinions out there, and I want to engage with people. And you didn't know me until just a few days ago, and you've been so very accommodating. Actually, you, Shannon, and Steve, you've all been very accommodating. I've met new people, and uh, I have to say thank you. It's just, you guys are so nice, and you're the exact opposite of what Dean and Red Pill Religion try to make you out to. So, seriously, thank you, sir.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, one of the things that I want to do with the platform that I have and just in general with the rest of my life is to build a community that people can feel open to come to, even if you aren't an atheist, and feel, okay, like questioning things and just talking about different subjects and feeling that sense of community that like a lot of religious groups have. But it's not hinged on religion or anything like that. It's just a community. And I really want to build that community in a positive way so that people can come and feel secure and find not so much like the circle jerking that like Red Pill Religion has, but find, I guess, like just a safe place for people to explore like their options and to, be heard and to find support in the things that they're going through. And it doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be about religion. It doesn't have to be about a god. They don't have to, they don't have to, post on their timeline and be like, oh, my dad's in the hospital from a heart attack. And somebody's not just like, oh, well, I'm sure God will take care of him. It's like, God gave him the heart attack in the first place in your worldview. Thank you very fucking much. Like, I mean, those are little things, but they do affect people in big ways in the atheist community. Because, like if somebody's mom dies or something and their mom doesn't believe in a God, but yet everybody on there is like, oh, I'm praying for you. It's like, that's really rude, and that's like a lot of times my family members will be like, well, I'm still praying for you. It's like, oh, okay, well, I'll drink a glass of water for you or something. But to have a community where you feel supported and you feel like you're not going to get overly criticized or yelled at or anything like that for having a different opinion, I think is the one thing, if I had to point to one thing that I want to do, that's what I want to do. And I want people to feel safe and secure in that community.
That's very good. That's very good. That's very good. The next person I'm trying to get in contact with is actually Tony the Tiger, or Philosophy Tiger. I'm curious to know what exactly happened there and why. I don't understand the whole deal with Calvinists, but we'll see.
Yeah, that would be interesting to know. And I wish you luck. Like I said, I think that you're probably the most perfect person to actually undertake, what you're doing here, because I mean, you obviously aren't on their side, but you're very open, and I'm sure that they're going to be able to talk to you fine. Whereas, like with me, they would be nothing but combative. But I think that with you, they'd be more open.